All the class 9 students of St. Michael's Academy, welcome to another online physical science class. Today I am continuing water. So let's start water part 2. Today I am starting with purification of water for drinking purpose. So water purification is the process of removing undesirable chemicals, biological contaminants, suspended solids, and gases from water. The goal is to produce water fit for specific purposes. Most water is purified and disinfected for human consumption. That is for making it drinking water actually. So overall methods to purify your water. Number one process is boiling. Boiling water is the cheapest and safest method of water purification. Second one is filtration. Filtration is one of the effective ways of purifying water, and when using the right multimedia filters, it's effective in ridding water of the compounds. Number 3, distillation, and number 4, chlorination. See the diagram at the index. A typical water treatment plant in a large metropolitan area. That means it's water purification at large scale. Okay, total diagram, total process has been described in a very nice diagram where actually chlorinated portion, filtering portion, everything is there. Backward supply, settled flock waste, everything has been cleared. If we will see it properly, we will understand. Now I am discussing the long scale water purification. Water is purified in large scale to supply in municipal corporation areas called water works. The following steps are taken. Steps are very, very important. Please remember these steps. First one, water is pumped from river or lake to large tanks of water works. Second one, sedimentation. Water is allowed to stand in large sedimentation tanks for few hours. Small quantity of common alum K2SO4 Al2SO4 whole 3 .24H2O. This is the formula of common alum. Remember this. Is added to enhance the sedimentation of colloidal mud. So first, it's just collection. Second one, sedimentation. Third one is filtration. The clear water from sedimentation tank is filtered through layer of sand and gravel. Gravel means stone chips. Filtration is also done through activated charcoal, which give better quality water. Next step is chlorination. To disinfect water finally, it is chlorinated by chlorine gas, which kills germs, harmful bacteria, etc. And the last one is the purified water is pumped into the supply system. This water is used for drinking and household purposes. So this is the total large scale water purification. Now, purification on small scale. There are three general methods for the purification of water on an individual or domestic scale, that is small scale. Boiling, chemical disinfection, and filtration. These three can be used singly or in combination. See the first diagram. Purification at small scale, domestic filter, boiling, chemical process, means everything you can do at your home. Second diagram, please see, purification on small scale, boiling for 5 to 10 minutes, kills almost all organisms and removes temporary hardness of water. Distillation, not commonly used due to higher cost, used in labs, etc. That's why distilled water we generally get in labs. Addition of chemicals, bleaching powder, 5% solution is used, dose 3 to 6 drops per liter, contact time of half an hour. Chlorine tablets or halazone tablets, 1 tablet per liter. Iodine solution, 2 drops of 2% solution per liter. KMnO4, an amount that gives just pink coloration to the water. Alum used for turbid water in a dose of 0.1 to 0.4 grains per 5 liters of water. Total process has been discussed here. This is actually small scale purification. In your book also it has been given boiling and filtration. The tube well or the water from municipal supply is boiled to destroy the microorganisms, allowed to stand for some time. Some solid substances also settle down. The clear water is decanted off and is filtered through ceramic filtering candles. In the old filter, actually ceramic filtering candles, that means tube-like structure is there, but closed, two ends closed. The ceramic candles having fine spores allow the water to pass and not the solid suspension. And second one, disinfection of water by ultraviolet radiation. From your book I am telling, at present domestic water purifier are available. By this purifier, water is purified in these 3 stages. First one, the tap water first filtered through a candle. Second one, the filtered water is then passed through a candle packed with activated charcoal, and this filtered water is then passed through a chamber fitted with an UV lamp, that means ultraviolet lamp. The ultraviolet radiation destroys microorganisms. That means at last UV radiation destroys microorganisms. This process is an attractive option in many cases because the water in this case is chemical free. Now limitations. Every process has some limitations. So here limitations of small scale. When looking at boiled versus filtered water, we found that boiling water isn't enough to completely purify water because it leaves harmful contaminants such as lead and chlorine. So boiling process advantage is simple and effective method of purification will kill many waterborne bacteria through the intense heat, uses local available materials. Disadvantages of boiling can sometimes be difficult, time consuming and cost inefficient because of the high volume of fuel used. Second one, it will not remove mud from murky water. And the third one, it will not remove suspended or dissolved compounds. In the second diagram, I have shown you a filtering process. So now, there are other limitations also in your book. So, boiling process limitation, from your book you can say that some essential minerals like calcium, magnesium, iron are precipitated out which are needed for health. Due to expulsion of dissolved air and minerals, the pleasant taste of water is lost. And limitation of chlorination to disinfect drinking water also there. Giardia and Cryptosporidium are generally resistant to chlorine unless it is used in higher doses than those generally preferred for treatment. The residual chlorine in water impart unpleasant taste in treated water. Presence of too much residual chlorine may produce chemical byproducts with organic matters in water, some of which are carcinogenic, that means causes cancer. A limitation of ultraviolet process is also there. This process is applicable for small scale water purifications and power supply dependent too. For better destruction of microorganisms, the contact time of UV rays with water should be sufficient. That is, slow flow of water through the UV rays is necessary. The organic matters present in water are disintegrated to radicals. These free radicals are harmful for human tissues. So these are all limitations of various processes. Now, what are the causes of hardness? Before this, I am telling you that in my previous slide, in water part 1, already I have discussed about hard water and soft water. So here I am not discussing it. So causes of hardness, the two main captions that causes water hardness are calcium and magnesium ion. Calcium is dissolved in water as it passes over and through limestone deposits. Magnesium is dissolved as water passes over and through dolomite and other magnesium-bearing formations. So causes of hardness at a glance you can say water hardness is principally caused by calcium ions, magnesium ions, strontium, iron ions, manganese ions. Source of calcium and manganese ions, geological formations. Okay, so it has been shown over here a reversible reaction where C17H35COONA, that's a SO formula, plus H2O. It is forming C17H35COOH plus NaOH. Same here, stearic acid or stearic acid, C17H35COOH, that is stearic acid, when reacts with soap again, C17H35COONA, it is forming leather of the soap, that is called hardness. So ordinary soaps are sodium and potassium salts of high molecular weight fatty acids like stearic acid, palmitic acid, etc. These salts are soluble in water and they form leather with water. Now we have understood the calcium, magnesium, iron ions in hard water react with these soluble soaps to form insoluble soaps. So reaction is also there when sodium stearate is reacting with calcium chloride to form calcium stearate insoluble, which is insoluble. That's why hardness is increasing generally. Hardness generally used to increase and with sodium chloride. The soluble chloride and sulfate salts of heavy metals like calcium, magnesium, iron are responsible for hardness. So sodium and potassium ions do not make water hard. Now I am discussing about temporary hardness. There are two types of water hardness, temporary and permanent. Permanent hardness is due to calcium and magnesium nitrates, sulfates and chlorides, etc. Temporary hard water can be softened by boiling the water. Temporary hardness is usually caused by the thermally unstable magnesium hydrogen carbonate and calcium hydrogen carbonate dissolved in the water from geological formations like limestone or chalk. See the diagram. Temporary hardness is caused by the presence of dissolved bicarbonate of calcium, magnesium and other heavy metals and the carbonate of iron. It is mostly destroyed by more boiling of water when bicarbonates are decomposed yielding insoluble carbonates. So calcium bicarbonate by heat forming calcium carbonate, water and carbon dioxide. Whereas magnesium bicarbonate by heat forming magnesium hydroxide and carbon dioxide. Up arrow given because this is a gas. Calcium magnesium carbonate thus formed or magnesium carbonate thus formed being almost insoluble are deposited as a scale at the bottom of the vessel while carbon dioxide escapes out. So the hardness of water which can be reduced or completely removed by boiling is called temporary hardness. The presence of soluble bicarbonates of calcium, magnesium, iron, etc. responsible for this type of hardness. Now permanent hardness. Permanent hardness in water is hardness due to presence of the chlorides, nitrates and sulfates of calcium and magnesium, which will not be precipitated by boiling. Lime scale can build up on the inside of the pipe, restricting the flow of water or causing a blockage. So permanent hardness is due to the presence of chlorides and sulfates of calcium and magnesium. These salts do not decompose or boiling. So permanent hardness can't be removed easily. It can be removed by soda, that is sodium carbonate, surfactants, that is sodium phosphate, or lime, that is calcium hydroxide, when magnesium sulfate is responsible for hardness. Reaction given: calcium sulfate when reacts with sodium carbonate, it will form sodium sulfate plus calcium carbonate. And magnesium sulfate when reacts with calcium hydroxide, it will form magnesium hydroxide and calcium sulfate. Surfactant, a substance that tends to reduce the surface tension of a liquid in which it is dissolved. So, permanent hardness or the hardness of water which cannot be removed by easy operation like boiling is called permanent hardness. The presence of soluble chlorides, sulfates and nitrates of calcium, magnesium, iron, zinc, etc. are responsible for permanent hardness. It is to remember that dissolved sodium and potassium salts, for example sodium chloride, potassium sulfate, etc. do not make water hard. This is because sodium and potassium salts do not interfere the leather formation with soaps. One more thing, I am telling you that in every slide I have given extra because you will understand this. That's why I am just trying to make you understand. That's why separate topic in separate slide I have given. So please cooperate with me and read the slides thoroughly along with your book. Now, disadvantages of using hard water. In bathing, hard water does not lather freely with soap solution but produces sticky scum on the bathtub and body. Thus, the cleansing quality of soap is depressed and a lot of it is wasted. Next, in cooking, due to the presence of dissolved hardness producing salts, the boiling point of water is elevated. Consequently, more fuel and time are required for cooking. Certain foods such as pulses, beans and peas do not cook soft in hard water. Also, tea or coffee prepared in hard water has an unpleasant taste and muddy looking extract. Moreover, the dissolved salts are deposited as carbonates on the inner walls of the water heating utensils. In drinking, hard water causes bad effect on our digestive system. Moreover, the possibility of forming calcium oxalate crystals in urinary tracts is increased. So, water with high hardness is not good for health. Many hard foodstuffs like pulses do not cook well in hard water. Hard water is unfit for laundries because it consumes too much soap and leaves dirty stains of calcium, magnesium, iron salts, of fatty acids on clothes. This problem does not cause by use of detergents. Hard water does not have pleasant taste, so not suitable for drinking. Hard water is not suitable for use in boilers for the production of steam in industries. During boiling, hard water produces white deposits of insoluble substances called scales. The scales consist of mainly calcium carbonate, magnesium carbonate and calcium sulfate salts. They deposits on the walls of the boiler. These scales are heat insulating. This causes greater consumption of fuels. They also block the pipes which may cause accidents. Hard water cannot be used in paper and dyeing industries. Thank you students. For any doubts or queries, please email me at shudeshna1.sma@outlook.com.